This is Megan with St. Ange Company here to introduce another episode of Taking the Supply Chain Pulse. This week, Fred is chatting directly with the future of healthcare supply chain with our guest, Reggie Gardner. He's a graduate student at the Howsam College of Business at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville and will wrap up his master's program in December. His unique background in healthcare and supply chain is what landed him a spot on the podcast. And here's your host, Fred Kranz.
Today we have a unique guest. We're looking at who is going to be stocking the healthcare supply chain of the future compared to who stocked it in the past, those of us that learned on the job. Reggie is going to be wrapping up his master's program next December, I believe. And he's got a unique background of having worked in healthcare before he got into supply chain. And I had met Reggie when I was down with my colleague Amy Watson talking to folks at University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And Reggie, we're happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me on, Fred. I really appreciate it.
My first question has nothing to do with what we're talking about. How do you guys feel about your quarterback leaving for a better deal at UCLA?
It was definitely a shock. It was definitely a shock. You know, there's some things going on behind closed doors that, you know, you don't really hear about in the media. But wish he would have stayed, but you know, you got to give your all for Tennessee. So
yeah, for you folks that don't know football, college players can now take money, and they're not getting small money. They're getting big money. And the guy that played quarterback for Tennessee, very good player, had signed for about $2.5 million. And then the guy who played at Georgia decided he wanted to go to the University of Miami for $4 million, which angered the guy at Tennessee who told him, I'm going to enter the portal. And now he's at UCLA making $4 million. So I would urge all of you out there, rather than considering a career in healthcare supply chain, learn how to throw a football. Okay. I mean, and you just have to go to college. You don't need to work after college, you know, make enough money. Anyway, well, Reggie, glad to have you here. What I wanted to do was, why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about yourself? Tell us about your background.
yeah, absolutely. So originally I was a corpsman in the Navy for about 5 years. So that's where I got my first taste for the medical field. Worked in the Naval Hospital for a while and then went off to 1st Marine Division to go serve with the Marine Corps. So kind of worked as a practitioner there, got to see a lot of things hands-on. But then once I got out of the military, I decided that I wanted to kind of continue within healthcare and ended up becoming a nursing technician over in the cardiovascular ICU. So really got to see even more of the inner workings as far as the hospital setting, kind of what supply chain looked like for the hospital, but then also got to see it in practice being on the practitioner side. Because of that, I realized I kind of got burnt out from medical, wanted to kind of make a transition. So I decided to come and get my MBA over at Howsam College of Business, and then with my concentration in supply chain, so I can kind of just tie all that experience in together and see what I could do, whether it be in healthcare or another field. But if healthcare has a really, really special place in my heart.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. There's a lot of content in there. The one thing that, before we get into our similarities in background, because I thought it was really amazing. You were a Navy corpsman. I was a Navy corpsman. You were with the Marines. I was with the Marines. Your first assignment when you worked in a naval hospital was in labor and delivery. My first assignment was labor and delivery. And we both worked in hospitals after we got out of the military as nursing assistants. So we have a lot of commonalities there that I think are important. But you got your undergraduate degree in wildlife and fishery science, right?
I sure did, yes.
So what made you decide to pursue a master's degree in supply chain?
So even with my undergrad degree in wildlife and fishery science, kind of in with today's climate, it looks like I made the right choice as far as the pivot. I just didn't see myself wanting to travel all across the country as far as, in search of a job, because in that field, it's very difficult to break in. And it's also difficult to find those full-time roles. And with my background in healthcare and kind of getting to see supply chain, I knew Haslam College of Business had one of the best supply chain programs there was. And so I realized I could kind of merge the best of my two worlds as far as with the military background, with the healthcare background after the military. But then I also knew that I had such a unique experience to bring to the table as far as what I had to offer personally, because I can bring in a different perspective as far as with the healthcare background, with the military background, and with even the practitioner side of medicine, and bring that into supply chain. And everything is always changing within the supply chain, and that's what really interests me. And you get to solve some really big, complex problems as well.
When you first committed to supply chain, how much did you think you knew about supply chain?
I was, being honest, I didn't know as much. I thought I knew like a little bit, but once you really get into the curriculum here at Haslam, you really get to do a deep dive and really get to get a lot of hands-on experience with real-world examples. We have some of the best professors and faculty in the country, honestly. So, and a lot of who really bring a lot from industry. So me coming in, I thought I knew a little, but once we really got into the curriculum, I realized I didn't know much at all, and really got to, kind of spread my wings when it came to the curriculum here.
Yeah, I found out when years after I had long been gone from the military that I succeeded, or we succeeded, because of a major component of the supply chain, which is transportation and logistics. And when I was in Vietnam, we had a phenomenal 98.3 survival rate for people who got wounded. Not counting the ones that got killed outright, but the ones that got wounded. And that was largely because the military just had a supply chain and a logistical plan, and that merged with its healthcare, its plan, to make sure that people got the correct initial treatment and immediately got sent to the next right place, got the treatment there, immediately got sent to the next right place. And so you could have gotten shot in the field in Vietnam yesterday, and by tomorrow you might be at Bethesda Naval Hospital in Maryland. And right. And that's all logistics. And I never put that together until way later. But you were a part of that. You served as a grunt corpsman with First MARDIV, right?
I sure did. Yep, First MARDIV.
Tell people out there what the life of a corpsman is like, just briefly.
You get a lot of hands-on training. Is one of the best ways to put it. You really get entrusted with your Marines, because to become a greenside corpsman, you have to be able to pass their standards to be able to join, or operate with them anyway. And there's a lot of trust that comes with that. You're attached to a unit. You're going to be basically one of their sole medical providers. And so that's a lot of trust to have on yourself, especially at a young age when you join. But you take so much pride with that. The hospital corpsman rate's one of the most decorated rates in the Navy. And I take great pride in that. Things that I was able to do, things I was able to learn. My father was also a corpsman in the 80s. He went to Beirut and Grenada. So he was another big inspiration for me wanting to become a corpsman. And as my 5 years as a corpsman, I wouldn't change any of it. There were some things that I wish I had the opportunity to do, but for me, I think that everything happens for a reason. I think it was one of the reasons that helped me get into this program, and I think it's one of the reasons that at least I see that I do so well within the program, because I can draw back on those experiences. But yeah, being a corpsman is a unique experience, as I'm sure you know. But with it comes a lot of pride.
Yeah, I would say a couple things. Number one, we were thrown in way over our head without knowing it. When we were in the field, I was with 3rd Marine Division, 3-3. That's another infantry battalion. You're out there doing things that by all rights you shouldn't be doing. You learn how to do it. You do it well, and you take that experience with you as you go throughout life. And I think that for me, it gave me a lot of confidence that I would not have otherwise gotten. And for all the jokes aside, if I had to pick, if I knew that they were coming over the hill this afternoon, and I had to pick one branch of the military to be with, it would be with an infantry battalion in the United States Marine Corps. I tell you,
Absolutely.
Because those guys ain't too bright, but they know what they're doing. So anyway, you came back, you started working at a hospital, and tell us about what happened in COVID. You got burned out in COVID, didn't you?
Yeah, so I initially started in UT Medical Center initially. Believe I started there in 2021, so I was on like kind of the back end as far as COVID, but we still had a lot of the remnants there, and the gowning up and having to take our own precautions. But especially when I worked on 7 West, so we worked on kind of a every type of patient, but then I also transferred to the cardiovascular ICU, where you get to see the sick of the sick, and you really get to see how important those quick minute decisions are, and being able to be very decisive in those decisions. Even as a nursing tech, I mean, you have to be able to monitor signs of a patient change and be able to communicate that back to, whether it be the charge nurse, whether it be the nursing care of the patient, being able to communicate to the parent, to the family members, being able to visualize those signs and communicate that effectively, but also being able to perform when something does go awry, being able to know exactly where the equipment is that you need to go grab that, or if you have to go run down to the blood bank, or if you have to be the one that starts chest compressions, you have to be able to really think on your toes, and that's what I really enjoyed about medicine, being able to see immediate impact as far as being able to see a difference in a family member's life or in the patient's life, and just whether it be you're with them for a couple of days or whether you're there with them for a week, it really makes a difference there. But COVID was very unique as far as things you had to learn on the go, things you had to learn on the fly, and being able to adapt in that type of working environment where there's sickness all around you, but you also have a job to do at the same time as well.
And how important was it to have the right supplies in the right place at the right time?
Oh, crucial. Absolutely crucial. Especially when you have like a code blue scenario going on, you need to make sure those supplies are exactly where they're supposed to be. And you also need to make sure that you have enough of those supplies, because as you know, in any type of medical situation, something can go awry, or you may need more of something that you thought you maybe didn't have. So you have to run over to the supply room or run to wherever that piece of equipment is, grab as much as you need, and you need to make sure you have an adequate amount of stock there. Because if you're trying to put IVs in, if you're out of IVs, that's an absolute no. And so those crucial life-saving tools, life-saving piece of equipment are so important.
So now we're going to diverge a little from you and I.
Yeah.
You finished school, and you're out there deciding that wildlife and fishery may not be a career, and you decide you want to formally study supply chain. Mm-hmm. I continued still working in hospitals, entering the supply chain by being a unit manager at a hospital in Miami, and never got out. But I never had any formal education in supply chain ever. Mm-hmm. When you decided you wanted to go into supply chain, you entered a formal program at one of the better schools in the country, one of the best. Tell us what the curriculum is like, and the curriculum that you have studied, and what you learned that I didn't learn.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of back to the point as far as it really starts at the faculty and the staff that we have here. I mean, they really put us in a position to really succeed as far as the curriculum. A lot of these professors that we have been in industry for a multitude of years, have really gotten to see what they're teaching us in class. Like, for example, they run us through whole simulations, which I personally love. I mean, we get to use like a marketplace simulation where we get to really start at a high level as far as you're the manufacturer and you get to set your prices. You get to set who you're going to do business with, what your contracts look like. And then we also get to tie in like linear models when it comes to supply chain, getting to really dive into like the business analytics side of supply chain. I mean, there's so much that we get to do. We also get to go to our supply chain forum where we get to connect with multiple different companies, different high level individuals as far as getting to talk about our experiences, and to the same point, what we're learning here at Haslam College of Business. And these companies and these incoming students want to come here because Haslam is just known all over the world for their supply chain program. I mean, the Haslam College of Business carries weight, whether you're in the U.S., whether you're abroad. They always know that power T, and being able to say that I've gotten an education from the University of Tennessee will forever mean something to me. And I know that wherever I go, whatever path I go on, I'm going to be successful because of the curriculum that I've had here, the hands-on experience I've got to have here, and the connections that I've formed with my professors and those outside of the university as well.
We interrupt this podcast for a quick pulse check. Is your supply chain ready for the future? At St. Ange Company, we don't just optimize logistics, we engineer smarter, leaner, and more resilient systems from end to end. Visit and discover how we're shaping the future of supply chain one solution at a time. From manufacturing to retail to healthcare, our experts bring decades of experience in cutting-edge strategies to transform your operations.
Well, when I was down there and you guys were involved in a project which you have since completed,
Yes.
and you were doing an analysis of a large foreign automotive manufacturer, and I was impressed because your group, you had 4, I think, different presenting groups that each took an aspect of the project, had really done a deep dive in the operations of the company, done its SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Something that I find to be foreign to healthcare, because the healthcare supply chain in my 60 years in healthcare has always been transactional and reactive. It's never been proactive in its planning. And when I remember talking to you about this and saying, the study that you were doing, and I want you to talk about it, was something that the company should be doing itself if it hasn't already done it.
Right.
And I have always been struck by the fact that I've always thought that healthcare has been caught off guard by so many things instead of being prepared. So tell us about the nature of that study without naming the company. Tell us about what you looked at, what you did, and it's something that we could probably transition to what a healthcare organization should be doing to come up with its strategic operational plan.
Yeah. So keeping the company out of it, the one thing that we wanted to look back, we did a 10-year look back initially as far as what their finances look like, what their moves in the past had been, their strategic moves as far as what type of markets they were trying to enter in, what they are known for, who their true customer base was. And one of the main things that we talked about was innovation, right? Being a first mover. And so also being very proactive. A lot of big organizations, as far as the one that we looked at, also made a wrong assumption about the market, right? So they take an assumption over the market. They think, okay, this is what the trends are, right? Is this a trend or is this something that's going to be sustainable? They saw the market as, okay, this is something we need to jump on because we see a growth in sales, but there was nothing to back it up by data. So, and through our professor, that's the one thing we've always been taught, and we'll talk about him here, I'm sure, a little bit later, is back it up by data. And you have to make sure that whatever you're trying to do as far as being proactive, you're on the right path, but also make sure that you're also aligned as far as your core values, because once you get away from those core values, you kind of lose the purpose, right? You lose the reason of why you're doing this in the first place. And it's important to always keep that at the core, because no matter what type of implementation you're doing, you could say you can make a recommendation to try to be proactive, but if it's away from what your mission is or what the core of an organization is, you're going to be lost. You're going to, as I like to say, you're going to be lost in the sauce anyway. And but that's kind of one of the main things we learned in being proactive as far as the healthcare space. You really have to know what the organization needs, right? What those needs are, who needs it first, what the priorities are, how you can get it, but also how you can get it at the cheapest rate, but still have the highest quality. And it's a balancing act, right? Especially within healthcare, which I'm sure you know. You can always get the cheapest product, but is it also going to be a quality product? Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you provide the best quality care possible. And yes, you could source it and get the cheapest material, but at the end of the day, what is your organization known for, right? Are you known for your upper echelon of care, for providing the highest quality, or are you going to provide the cost friendly supplies, materials, care, and that's going back to the core. Make sure you're aligned, make sure those companies that you're sourcing for also align with your same goals, because that's also important as well when you look at where you're getting your materials from.
Yeah, well, what's interesting when you're doing this analysis is this is something, tell me if I'm wrong, because you know more than I do. You're studying this. Do the larger corporations employ specific divisions to be doing that kind of work on a regular proactive basis all the time?
As far as what we've seen, not necessarily all the time. I think some of it gets lost because a lot of organizations prioritize differently, right? So there could be some organizations that have a division set for it, but there are also some other organizations that may not. Like for example, if you look at marketing, right? Some organizations may prioritize marketing and have a whole division for it, and their budget may factor that in. They may have a larger marketing budget, where some organizations, they may just put it on the back end, and not necessarily focus on that. And I think that's kind of the same, at least from what I've seen as far as the research that we've done, the analysis that we've done. It's kind of the same principle. It's all about prioritizing within the organization, and also from the top down what they also prioritize, because they could see it completely different from what our perspective is.
Yep. I mean, it gets into proactive versus reactive. Mm-hmm. And I've told people forever, people hire consultants for two reasons. Either because something has gone terribly wrong and they need to have something done immediately to survive, or if they are on the ball, they hire consultants from time to time to help them plan so that things don't go wrong. And if you were to ask me what's the percent, I would say it's about 85% things have gone wrong, we need help now, and 15% we want to make sure things don't go wrong. So that's why I really I'm sort of surprised, but I guess I'm not surprised. It's hard to think that a company as large as the one you were talking about, and it's a very large, well-known company, could allow itself to sort of get mired in the stuff that it's had to deal with, and that's really interesting. So now that you're winding down, and you're going to be doing your summer internship in Austin, Texas.
Yep, greater Austin area, Round Rock, Texas. Pretty excited about that.
And that's what the live music capital of the world. You want to go there to play golf.
Yeah.
Are you going to do any educational activities or employment activities while you're there? Or is it just a vacation for the summer?
No, it's definitely working for sure, and kind of soaking up the experience. I mean, the opportunity that I'm going to get with the organization is going to be one of the best I've ever had, as far as the exposure that it gets, the complex business problems that I get to solve, and getting to work with individuals who've been at the organization for 5, 10, 15 years and really enjoy it, but also they want to see the younger generation coming in and soaking up as much information as possible and embedding themselves within the culture as well.
But I think you're going about it with the right attitude, Reggie. I mean, I think the biggest mistake a lot of folks make is, they think they know something about something, and therefore they don't learn anything. I've always liked it when I've found something that I know absolutely nothing about, because then I really want to get in there, and I think that's important. And along those lines, I've introduced you to Albert Nakansa, who works with us. One of our project managers, a really excellent project manager, to give you some sort of continued connectivity about the supply chain field and kinds of stuff he's doing. I think the challenge that we have in healthcare is interesting folks like you into joining us in healthcare. And what excited me about you was you've had significant experience from the caregiving end, at least 6 years, and so you know the work. And my personal experience has been that folks that have come to healthcare supply chain come here because they want to make things better for people. They want to serve people in a human way, and it's not necessarily about their bank account. What do you see yourself doing after you finish your program?
Yeah, obviously going on the full job search, and still trying to keep my options open as far kind of where I want to locate and what type of industry I want to go in. But to say on, I mean, healthcare has a special place in my heart. I mean, I've got, we've talked previously, I've gotten to see people at the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows, and being able to see people in that vulnerable state, but also having the ability to kind of form that connection as far as working on the practitioner side. I mean, that is something that I will always take with me. I always love making a difference within healthcare, and whether I'm, practicing hands-on, as far as the medicine side or on the supply chain side, I think I can do some real good there as well.
That's good. One final sort of question. We all have people who make a difference in our lives. And for most of us, there's a teacher involved there somewhere. Okay. For me, the teacher at the university level that made the most difference in my life was a man named Whittington B. Johnson, Jr. He taught history at the University of Miami. He was the first African-American person they hired as a formal history professor. He got his PhD from Georgia, and he was my mentor. I kept in touch with him right up until just before he died last year. He died at 93. In my opinion, you have the best of the best that you've been in contact with. Tell us about Dr. Bradley, what he's like as a teacher, and what he's like, what your relationship with him is like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Dr. Bradley is absolutely amazing. I mean, being able to join his class, and which really teaches us how to break down a case, how to really do those deep analyses, but also being able he is a master communicator. The way that he's able to storytell is, I mean, it's like pure poetry. I mean, he keeps you locked in, he keeps you engaged, but he keeps it so easy for you to follow his message. And he tries to instill that type of same ability in all of us within the course. I mean, he by no means has to dedicate the amount of time that he does when he has to balance all the other commitments that he has. And day in, day out, he's willing to help us. He's always a phone call or a text away, a video chat away. And it doesn't matter what time of the day, and he's really left a lasting impact on me, whether it be professionally, whether it be personally. I mean, I've been able to come and confide in him anything that I need to. He's always a resource, but he's taught me so much that I am now able to take and just improve on. We've talked about it previously. The start of his class, when it came to presentations, I was stuttering, a little nervous. You could see that it was something I was uncomfortable with. But to now, I was able to compete in a external case competition where I was able to go on stage, present, not be nervous, to really feel confident in my abilities. And that's all a testament to him, to help me feel comfortable, to teach me those skills. But also I'm able to take those same skills that he's taught me now, apply those in the internship that I'm going to be doing, and then later on down the road and just keep applying those same frameworks that he's taught. And I know that I can always lean on him as a resource, but he has been invaluable to me and the rest of our cohort and those before me as well.
Yeah, well, the one advantage you have today over when I graduated from the university is you have the technical capability to remain in touch with him forever, which is a good thing.
Yes.
And in my opinion, there's no more noble profession in this country than being a teacher. And if things were in their right order here, teachers would make a hell of a lot more money than basketball players. Okay, we just don't have those kind of priorities. Well, Reg, thanks so much for joining us, brother. I'm always great to talk to you, dude. And you made it through your presentation. You came out on the other side, and you're cruising now for your summer job in Houston or in Austin. That's great.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to see you as well.
Yep. Let's keep in touch, buddy.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks, Reggie. Take care.
All right, you too.
Well, that's all for today. Thanks again for joining. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and connect with us online where you can find all of our episodes. If you have a topic you would like to discuss or want to be a guest on the show, you can reach out to Fred directly at fcrans@stonge.com. See you next time.